Welcome to the deep dive. You ever have those days where it feels like you're not really in the driver's seat, like you're just running on autopilot, caught in
Oh,
habits?
absolutely. That's super common. And, the fascinating thing is neuroscience actually gives us some really cool tools to understand why that happens.
Right. And not just why, but how we can, take the wheel back.
Exactly. How we can actually start making changes.
Which is perfect because for this deep dive, we looked at this great YouTube transcript. It's from Speak English with Class called Rewire Your Brain.
Yeah, it's full of really practical neuroscience stuff for, personal growth.
So our mission here really is to show you that your brain, it's not fixed, it's not like concrete.
Not at all. It's constantly changing. And you actually have a surprising amount of say in how it changes. We want you to walk away understanding you can really sculpt your own brain development.
Yeah, sculptable. I like that. So we're going to get into how you can guide those changes, maybe tackle negative thoughts, build better habits, even learn faster. Where should we start?
Well, first off, let's bust that myth. The idea that we're just hardwired, that we're stuck.
Right, the old you can't teach an old dog new tricks kind of thinking.
Pretty much, but it's just not true. Think of your brain less like a computer chip and more like a living garden.
Okay, a garden. How does that work?
Well, your thoughts, your actions, your feelings,
Yeah.
they're like seeds you're planting all the time. Some grow into, good things, positive outcomes.
Like confidence or focus?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But others, if you're not paying attention, can turn into weeds, like procrastination or self-doubt.
Okay, I see that. And the science behind this garden idea.
It's called neuroplasticity. Sounds fancy, but it just means your brain is always capable of reorganizing itself, making new connections your whole life.
So it's constantly adapting based on what we do and experience.
Constantly. It's happening right now as we speak. Whether you're trying to change or not, your brain is reshaping itself.
Wow. Okay, so if we don't consciously direct it,
Then it just adapts based on whatever inputs it gets. Like that garden again, if you don't tend it, weeds might just take over because those seeds landed there.
so the big takeaway here is you're not stuck. You're sculptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're sculptable. And being intentional, that's the key to shaping how you change.
Which kind of leads perfectly into this next idea about action and motivation, because I think a lot of us wait to feel motivated before we do something.
Oh yeah, that's a huge trap. I'll start exercising when I feel like it.
Uh-huh.
Or I'll practice my English
Uh-huh.
when I'm in the mood.
But the brain science says that's kind of backwards, doesn't it?
It really is. Taking action, even a tiny action, signals to your brain, hey, this is important.
Ah, okay. So the action itself is the signal.
Right. Your brain goes, okay, they're doing this thing. Let's start building some support for it. And it can even release chemicals like dopamine that make you feel good and want to do it again.
It reminds me of like building a campfire. You don't wait to feel warm before you light the match, right?
Exactly. You light the match, you build the fire, then you get the warmth. The action comes first.
So like just writing one sentence in a journal, or saying one phrase in English out loud, or even just putting on your walking shoes.
Precisely. Those tiny first steps. You don't need this massive wave of inspiration. Just starting tells your brain, okay, let's do this. And often the motivation kind of catches up.
So you can actually act your way into feeling motivated.
You absolutely can. Each little step builds momentum. It tells your brain, more of this, please.
Okay, that makes sense. And that ties into habits, right? Building those pathways. I know that phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together.
Yeah, it's kitschy because it's true. It's the core idea of habit formation. Every time you repeat something, a thought, an action, even feeling a certain way, the connection between the brain cells involved gets stronger.
Easier for the signal to travel next time.
Exactly. It's like, imagine walking across a grassy field. The first time is tough.
You're pushing through the tall grass.
Right. But if you walk the same route every day, pretty soon there's a path. It gets easier and easier until it's just the automatic way to go.
And that's what happens in our brain with habits. These neural pathways get worn in.
Yep. And this is why those small daily things matter so much. Even just a few minutes a day, consistently, it starts carving those paths. It really adds up.
So it's not always about huge, dramatic changes. It's the consistency.
Consistency is king. Over time, these repeated actions don't just change what you do, they start to change who you are. Your identity shifts.
So if you want to be, say, a fluent English speaker, it's about those daily practice habits, however small.
Exactly. You become that person through the repetition.
Yeah.
And the really cool part is you get to choose what you repeat. You can actually design the habits you want.
But choosing those habits and sticking to them requires focus, doesn't it? especially today with all the distractions.
Oh, massively. Focus is crucial. Think of your attention like a spotlight. Whatever you consistently shine that spotlight on, that's what your brain invests in. That's what gets built up, reinforced.
So if I focus on learning something new or solving a problem.
Your brain strengthens the networks for learning and problem solving. But if your spotlight is like scattered everywhere, jumping between emails, social media, trying to multitask,
Which feels like most of the time, for many of us.
right, then your brain gets wired for that too, for shallow thinking, for being easily distracted. It doesn't build those deep, strong connections for focused work.
So deep, repeated focus tells the brain this. This is important. Build more capacity here.
Exactly that. It signals importance. So just passively consuming information isn't enough for real rewiring. You've got to engage.
Like, really think about it. Connect it to other things.
Yes, reflect, go deeper, because where your focus goes, that's where your brain grows, literally.
Wow. Okay. And focus isn't just about thoughts. It's about emotions too, right? Emotions seem so powerful in shaping things.
They really are. Emotions act like glue for memories and even for our sense of self.
Glue. How so?
Well, think about when you repeatedly feel a strong emotion,
Mm-hmm.
maybe anger about traffic every day, or guilt about something, or persistent sadness.
Yeah.
It doesn't just stay as a fleeting feeling.
Mm.
If it happens often enough, it can become a kind of default mood.
Okay. I can see that.
And if that mood sticks around long enough, it starts to feel like your temperament. And over years, it can even feel like part of your core personality, like I'm just an anxious person or I've always been kind of pessimistic.
And the brain actually wires itself around these feelings.
It does. It creates shortcuts.
Yeah.
Trigger happens, and boom, you're right back in that familiar emotional state, almost automatically.
So it becomes a loop?
A loop, exactly. But here's the hopeful part. You can learn to interrupt that loop. One way is working on shortening the emotional refractory period.
Refractory period. What's that?
It's basically the time it takes you to cool down, to return to normal after getting upset or stressed.
Okay. So instead of just like stewing in anger for hours.
Right. Instead of stewing, you practice noticing it, maybe taking a breath, reflecting for a second, and choosing a different way to respond, or at least not feeding the negative feelings.
So you actively shorten that stewing time.
Exactly. You shorten the time you spend in that negative state. Because just like habits train your brain through actions, emotions train your brain through feelings, and you can interrupt those patterns.
That's really powerful. Okay, shifting slightly, you mentioned stress there. We usually think of stress as just bad. Full stop.
Yeah, it gets a bad rap, but it's more nuanced than that. Some kinds of stress, used the right way, can actually be good for brain change.
Good stress? Like what?
Think about short bursts of challenge that you choose, or at least manage, like giving a presentation or trying a cold shower or really pushing yourself in a workout.
Okay, things that feel hard but are kind of contained.
Exactly. Those signal to your brain, adapt, get stronger, build resilience. It's like taking your nervous system to the gym.
A workout for the brain. I like that.
But, and this is the crucial but are, that only works if it's followed by recovery.
Wow.
If you're under constant, unrelenting stress, the endless emails, the deadlines, the arguments, doom-scrolling news with no downtime, that's different. That's chronic stress.
And that's the bad kind.
That's the toxic kind. No recovery means burnout, exhaustion, real negative impacts on your health. It's like a fireplace managed. It gives warmth and energy.
But out of control, it burns the house down.
Precisely. So the idea is to use stress, strategically short bursts of challenge, but then really prioritize the recovery. Silence, rest, space for your brain to actually integrate the learning and build that resilience.
Makes sense. You need the stress to trigger the adaptation, but the adaptation actually happens during the rest.
Couldn't said it better myself.
Yeah.
Which brings us neatly to maybe the most vital part of this whole rewiring process, and the one we often sacrifice first.
Let me guess. Sleep.
Bingo. Sleep. It is absolutely non-negotiable for brain transformation. It's not a luxury, it's biology.
Right. You can do all the other things, the habits, the focus, managing stress. But if you skimp on sleep, it's
like tending that garden meticulously all day,
I
but
know.
never watering it. Nothing's going to grow properly.
So what's actually happening when we sleep that's so important for rewiring?
Your brain is incredibly busy.
Mm-hmm.
During deep sleep, it's like this amazing cleanup and construction crew comes in.
Okay.
They're strengthening the important connections you made during the day, the things you learned, the habits you practiced. They're clearing out waste products, kind of like mental garbage collection.
Tidying up.
And they're even pruning away connections that aren't being used much. making the whole system more efficient.
Wow. So it's really active, consolidating, and optimizing.
Super active. And it's not just nighttime sleep. Even short naps or just periods of quiet, wakeful rest can help consolidate learning. But that deep quality sleep overnight, that's when the heavy lifting of transformation happens.
So seriously, if you want to change your brain, learn English better, build skills, feel different, you have to treat sleep as sacred.
Absolutely. It's foundational. Real, lasting change is built during rest.
Okay, so wrapping this all up then. The core idea is our brains are always changing, always.
Always in flux. And the amazing part is you have the power to steer that change through what you choose to do.
Right, through intentional actions, where you put your
The
focus,
habits you build day by day.
how you handle your emotions, not letting them just run the show.
Using stress smartly, like a tool, and always pairing it with recovery.
And crucially, getting enough sleep, prioritizing that rest.
Exactly. It's all interconnected.
And it's not about giant leaps, is it? It's the small things done consistently.
That's the secret sauce. Every little conscious choice, every repetition. It's like casting a vote for the kind of brain and the kind of person you want to be. You're literally reshaping yourself.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, think about this. Where in your life right now do you feel like you're most on autopilot? Just running an old program. What's one tiny, concrete, intentional thing you could do today, right now, even to start consciously nudging that pattern in a new direction? Just one small step to begin rewiring.